So, have you ever wondered how a Python script actually talks to the outside world? How it can ask for your name or how you can feed it a bunch of files to process? Well, today we're going to dig into the two main ways Python programs get their data. Think of it as the difference between having a live conversation versus just handing over a set of instructions and walking away. Right, let's get straight to the heart of it. You've written this awesome script, but it can't do anything until it gets some information to work with. So how does it actually get that data? How does it talk to you? Or maybe even get instructions from another program? All right, first up, let's look at the most direct way to have a back and forth with your program. It all comes down to one simple, built-in function, input. So what's the deal with input statement? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a pause button for your script. It literally stops everything, flashes a message on the screen, and just waits. It waits for you to type something and hit enter. This is the absolute key to making your script interactive. And here's what it looks like in the wilds. It's super simple. We've got a variable, name, and we're telling it to hold whatever the input function gives us back. And that text inside the parentheses, enter your name, that's the prompt. That's the message you're showing the user so they know what you want. And this is what your user actually sees. The program runs, it prints that prompt, and then the cursor just sits there, blinking, waiting. In this case, someone's typed in Alex and is about to hit enter. The second they hit enter, bam, the program springs back to life. It grabs that text, Alex, stuffs it into the name variable, and moves on to the next line of code, which in this case prints out a nice, hello, Alex. And there you have it. You just had a little chat with your program. Okay, there are two things you absolutely have to burn into your memory about input. First, it always pauses the program. Always. Second, and this is a big one that trips people up, no matter what the user types, whether it's a word or a number, input sees it as a string. Just text. And we'll see why that's so important in just a bit. But what if you don't want a conversation? What if you just want to give your program all of its marching orders right at the beginning, before it even starts? Well, that's where our second method comes into play. Command line arguments. See, this approach is all about automation. We're not waiting for a user to type something in midstream. We give the program everything it needs right here in the terminal when we run it. After the script name, demo.py, we're passing in two pieces of information, the numbers 10 and 20. So how does our script actually get a hold of those numbers? Well, for that, we need to bring in a little help from Python's standard library, specifically the sys module. Once we import sys, we can look at this special thing called sys.argv. So what's inside? When you print it out, you see this, a list. And you got to pay attention to the structure here. The very first item is the name of our script, demo.py. And then, after that, you see our arguments, 10 and 20. And look closely. See those single quotes? That's right. They're strings. So let's recap the essentials for sys.argv. It's always a list. The item at index 0 is always the file name. And just like with input function, everything else you pass in gets captured as a string, even if it looks like a number to you. That is a super critical detail to remember. Okay, enough theory. Let's make this real. How do we take those arguments, which we know are strings, and actually use them to do something useful, like a bit of math? So we import sys. Then we need to grab our first argument. Now remember, sys.argv is a list, and the file name is at index 0, so our first real argument, that 10, is at index 1. But we can't do math with the string 10, so we have to use the int function to convert it into a real number, an integer, which we then store in our variable a. And for our second argument, you guessed it, we do the exact same thing. We grab the item at index 2, which is the string 20, run it through int to convert it, and store that number in the variable b. Now for the payoff. Since a and b are now proper numbers, we can finally do our calculation. The last line just adds them up and prints out the result. See? The program never had to pause and ask for anything, because we gave it everything it needed right from the get-go. And here's the whole thing in action. We run the script from our command line, passing in 10 and 20. The script just executes, no waiting, no questions. It does the conversion and the math behind the scenes, and spits out the correct answer, sum equals 30. This is perfect for any kind of automated task. Okay, so we've seen two totally different ways to get data into our programs. Let's put them side by side now so it's crystal clear when you should use one versus the other. This really breaks it down, doesn't it? Input is all about interaction. It gets its data during program execution. It's what you want when you have a person sitting there ready to answer questions. On the flip side, sys.argv gets all its data before the program even starts. This makes it the absolute champion of automation. It's perfect for scripts that are being run by other scripts or by a scheduler, where there's just no person around to type anything. At the end of the day, Python gives you the right tool for whatever job you're facing. So the next time you fire up your editor, just ask yourself this one question. Does my program need to have a conversation, or does it need to just run on its own? Your answer will tell you immediately whether you should reach for input or sys.argv. Thanks for tuning in.